Hey everyone, RPG Builder version 1.1 is now released on the Asset Store. It's amazing, everyone is really happy, but we have one more thing to do if we have a project of a previous version that we want to upgrade to 1.1. So in this video, I'm going to take you step by step on the process for that. It is very easy. I worked really hard to make it as simple and quick for you as possible, but I want you to pay a lot of attention. You have to do it only one time and then you're fine. So just pay attention to this video. Before getting started, I want you to make sure that you have a backup of your project. So either you're using version control or you have a duplicate. So like you copy and paste your project somewhere else so that whatever happens, you don't lose anything. So first, let me give you some context here. Right now, we are looking at a Unity 2019.4.0 Unity project, which is a minimum required version for RPG Builder 1.1. And we have a fresh install of RPG Builder 1.0.4.1. Of course, this will be your own project, right? So of course, it obviously doesn't have to be a fresh install of 1.0.4. This is going to be your project with your database, which I'm going to look at now. So your abilities, your scene, and so on. So as you can see now, this is obviously nothing like the 1.1 demo. But imagine that this is your database, right? And everything that's in it, of course, you want to keep it with you, but use 1.1. So first of all, let's take a second to compare the 1.0.4 editor, which we can't even dock without breaking, to the 1.1 now that we can fully scale. I mean, it just looks a lot better, much easier to navigate, very quick, and so on. So I'm going to go back and forth between the two projects anyway, because there are a few comparisons to make. Now I'm also going to show you how it is in game. So right now, the way I did it basically is that, like I said, it's a fresh install, right? But I did one thing, is that just to give you an example, in your project, you're most likely going to have folders outside of THMSV and resource. And this is where you should save your own file anyway. I don't really suggest to, or rather recommend to save your own stuff under this. But here I have my own files, and this is a material, a scene, and the scene, just to give you some context, is this one. So we have this character here, and this is the old 1.0.4 controller, which was pretty terrible, let's be honest. It's not great, but I mean, it did its job while it lasted, right? So, but what we want now is the amazing updated 1.1 controller, which I'm going to show you now. So as you can see, it's much smoother, much better to use. We can aim. We can, I mean, we could already cast abilities before, etc., obviously, but it just looks a lot better now. So let's take the update and make sure that you get started in no time with 1.1. So the first thing we want to do is backing up whatever we want to keep in your 1.1 version, right? So we're going to keep the same project. Obviously, all of this is going to happen within the same project. But what I'm going to do in a short while is to delete those two folders. But before that, we have to make sure we backed up whatever we don't want to lose, right? So let's talk a bit again about the database. As you can see, all those things that we've probably spent weeks or months working on, of course you want them with you, right? So we will make sure to save them. So to do that, you go under Resources, THMSV, and all of this is under the RPG Builder data. And here, anywhere on your PC, you're going to be able to just click here, Show in Explorer, copy, and then you save it anywhere you want on your PC. In my case, it's in this folder, but for you, it could be anywhere else. So this part is done. Our database is now safe. We can delete this without any problem, and we're not afraid to lose anything. Now, if you saved any of your own files, prefab, scenes, or whatever under this folder, like I said, I don't recommend it, but it's okay if you did, no worries. Just take them one by one and make sure to drag and drop them inside another folder, like somewhere, either a new one that you create or one that you already have existing. Just make sure to save your own textures and so on, so that whenever we delete this, you're not losing anything you didn't want to delete. So now I'm gonna, imagine that everything is backed up and that's, everything we need. So now I'm going to select THMSV, resources, and simply hit delete. Okay, so now we will just go to a new scene because we don't really need this older scene anymore. And we are ready to import RPG Builder 1.1. So in this case, you will go to the asset store or the package manager. But in my case, I'm just going to drag and drop my own package because this version of RPG Builder is not yet live on the store. But for you, you just go to the asset store or package manager. Just going to wait a few seconds to show you the difference of structures in files, etc., the content of the package. Because as you can see in 1.1, we no longer have THMSV because THMSV was the previous name of my company, and everything, all of these folders have nothing to do with RPG Builder. Now RPG Builder is under one folder, so we can look at it now. So we have the art folder and the tools, which is where RPG Builder is. And here we have all the files. And in the art one, I'm giving you for free a lot of icons, props, and weapons to get you started with your game. So I'm gonna go ahead and click import. You don't have to do anything here, just import everything. And I'm of course going to pause the recording now so that you're not just looking at me and the loading screen for a few minutes. So I'm going to start recording again in a few minutes when it's done. Okay, so the import is now done, and we can see this because we see the blink tab on top and we now access to RPG Builder. So in the case that when you first open RPG Builder, some people, and as well it's happening to me sometimes, the font is looking kind of weird, kind of broken, etc. Don't worry, it's nothing too bad. What you can do is dock it, go to another tab and go back and it's going to be fixed, or simply close it and reopen. This can happen sometimes when you just first open the Unity RPG Builder editor because it's loading a lot of data at first, etc. But it's not breaking anything, don't worry. And of course, I'm already working on a fix for that. Anyway, so here we have 1.1 in our project. But as you can see, this is not our database, of course, because this is now the 1.1 demo database with the abilities, effects, items, and so on. So what we want to do is go ahead and go to settings, editor, and here we have a project upgrade section, right? So what you're going to do here is browse, and you're going to find the path of your backup. So for example, here, I'm going to just, let's go here, for example, up, copy and paste this path, and you can just paste it here. So now we have our backup folder, so the old database from the previous project here. And the next step is very simple. We literally just hit import the project database. Here it's going to ask you to make sure you want to delete the demo database, etc. Of course, you say yes. So now, as you can see, it's deleting one by one everything, every module, so abilities, stats, effects, NPCs, items, and so on. And right after that, it's going to import your own database. Of course, a lot more is going on right now behind the scenes, but it doesn't really matter for you what's happening. All you care about is that it works. Okay, so that's now done. And if we go to combat abilities, as you can see, we now have our own project database back here. So it's kind of magic, right? We have our effect, abilities, items, NPCs, and so on. And for example, if we look at items, let's look at whatever the axe, for example, you see that the stats and everything is still here just fine. At the end of the video, I'm going to provide you with a list of things which are unfortunately could not be ported, but I really did my best to take it as little as possible, and I did my best for you to make sure that you're not gonna spend too much time redoing those things. So don't worry about this too much. Now we have a few things to do before being able to go back in game using 1.1. First of all, we go under items and races. And here under visual, as you can see, we no longer have only one icon for the race. Now 1.1 lets you select one per gender. So I'm just going to assign those two. I'm of course going to use the same one for both gender because I don't have a female one. And then you're going to assign the demo or like the default character prefab. Of course, later you're going to assign your own character prefab here, but right now, before you make your own, just to test that everything is working, etc., just use the default one. And the last thing for the race is to drag and drop the human race override here and human combat override here. You can find this under characters, animators, override, and you can save. Now we will go to combat stats, and one of the many changes in RPG Builder was that the movement speed stat is no longer hard-coded, which means that in before 1.1, if you wanted, for example, I don't know, like a agility stat or whatever to have movement speed, you could not, but now you could, for example. So if we go to intellect and we add a new bonus, intellect could also give you movement speed now if you add this. I'm not going to do it, but what you will want to do, otherwise you're not going to be able to move with your character. Your movement speed is essentially going to be 0. So in this case, you go to your movement speed stat, select movement speed and save. Now we will go to settings, editor, and make sure that we delete all characters. Now, one thing we need to do for our current, or rather like the scenes that we saved, is just copy 2 prefabs. So we will go under scene. You can find the RPG Builder demo, which is the 1.1 demo, which is very nice. As you can see, I'm providing you with a lot of models, and also a lot of things are coming from the partners. But here, what you're going to want to do is select both camera rig and player input, click Ctrl+C or copy, and then we can go back to our own scene, so my own files, but of course for you it's going to be whatever scene you have, and Ctrl+V here. And we're going to delete this camera. There's the one that was in here before because we don't need it anymore. If you want to find the camera inside the camera rig, it's the last object. So you just open those things and you can find the camera here. Now we can go back to the main menu. You can use a scene loader for that if you want to, and save. You may have this error when you just updated, but it's going to be fine. It's not breaking anything. And in case you have NPC spawners in your scene, which you most likely do, you will have some errors when you start playing. It's no big deal. It's just because NPCs in 1.1 no longer use prefabs. Instead, you set up everything in the editor, and RPG Builder is creating the prefabs for you behind the scenes, so you don't have anything else to do. So you just have to go through your NPCs and drag and drop their model, visual, etc. But I'm going to make a video on this later. But in this video, I'm going to show you how quickly setting up one. Now it's done. We just have to make sure that our scene is in the build setting, etc. But it is, and we can go ahead and play. One more thing I want to check actually, if you are using a class system in your game, because remember that RPG Builder lets you also use a classless system. If you do, then just make sure that this is on the using classes one. So under settings, combat, using classes, and save. Now we should be fine. So new character, blink, whatever. And that's it. So now we have the 1.1 UI. This is the instruction. Of course, you can disable that. And we use the amazing new 1.1 controller now. Nothing to do like before. We can aim, as we said before, etc. So now one thing you see is that if I'm using my fireball ability, projectiles ability are one of the things that could not be ported because I did a lot of updates to them. But don't worry, it's not complicated at all. If I go to my fireball ability here, for example, you see that it has now a lot more options. Like before it was maybe 5 or 6, and now it's like almost an entire page. And what we need to do here is simply to assign the projectile prefab again. So I will go, of course you can add whatever you want here, but in my case I already provide you with one under combat visual projectiles, and we can assign fireball. And we're going to make it spawn at like 1. You can of course use node socket and much more like complicated stuff, or rather like things giving you a lot more control, but in this case we're gonna make it simple for this video. And you can use blink collision system or your own, or rather like the Unity one, and I'm going to make it sphere radius 0.6, and that's it. And now I'm able to use the fireball ability again. You see also that the animation is no longer playing, and the reason for that is because 1.1 is coming with a completely new way to play animations from your abilities. As you can see, you no longer need prefab. So what you will do, for example, is write any, like whatever parameter you have here. So in this case, of course, it doesn't really make sense, melee attack, but I'm just going to use this animation for now. And now it's playing the animation perfectly. And to make sure that the combat and everything is working, we're going to spawn an NPC. But like I said, before that, we will want to go in our NPCs and set them up again. You can do this directly in game. I'm not leaving game right now. And I'm going to set up the training dummy. All I have to do here is go under NPCs. Of course, for your NPC, you're going to find your models, etc. But for this one, I can go under prefab, dummy target, and that's it. The nameplate position, let's say about 1.5 meters above. This one does not need an animator, so I'm going to leave this blank. We can do this, but those values don't matter much for now. And collider radius, maybe 0.5 and maybe 2, and high 1 for the center. Save, and that's it. You're going to now be able to spawn your NPCs again. Training dummy, hop, as you can see, it's right here. And we can shoot at it, and it's working perfectly. It's taking damage, etc. Obviously, right now, nothing is polished. You can see also that some of the animation don't play properly, and this is because it's not that they don't play properly, but it is in the 1.1 demo. I can't provide you with all the amazing animations I'm using in the actual demo build, right? Because they are not from Blink. So you will have to use your own animations, but don't worry about this. I have a video coming on this also very soon, explaining the entire process of using the new 1.1 animation system and how to make use of it, because it's really, really good and it's just so much easier. It's allowing you to have custom animation based on weapon type. So for example, if in your game you wanted specific animation to play when you have a dagger and a spellbook equipped, it's completely possible now and very easy to do. Anyway, this is for another video. But as you can see, we're pretty much all set now. All of this was, I think, relatively easy. I think most people were expecting it to be a lot more difficult, but I took some extra time before releasing this video just to make sure and to quickly further improve the process. So I'm pretty sure it was worth it. I think most people understand, and nobody is really bothered about the 1 day delay or whatever. So everything is all good. I want to quickly remind you a list of things that did not update from 1.0.4 to 1.1 and that you will have to redo in your project. We already covered a few with the movement speed stats and so on, but your ability activation type. So as you can see here, if we go to activation settings, now we no longer have all the cast time, channel, etc. All of these things that did not make sense to work together are no longer here. So now you can just choose between instant ability, casted, and then it will show all the casted settings, channeled, or charged. And charged is actually something that still needs some work, but all the previous ones are here ready to use, but just make sure to go to your abilities and set it to the right things. But if you had some cast time before, so look at, for example, the fireball ability. In your project before, the fireball was casted, right? But right now it's set to instant. But if we set it to casted, you see that you don't have to do these settings anymore. This is still safe. You just have to set this one. Now, NPC prefab is also on my list of things to talk to you about, but I just showed you how to do this. Obviously, I'm going to make a full video on this process, but as you could see, it took just a few seconds for us to drag and drop the visual, and you no longer have to create any prefab. So this is really, really cool. And one other thing to remember is that the bonuses also are going to be reset. So they will still exist in your database, but if you remember before, it was actually, I'm not even sure why I designed it that way the first time, to be honest, but bonuses were using a stat effect. So to create a bonus to give you, for example, +5 health, you would have first to create an effect, combat, type, stat, rank, add health, etc. And then you attach this health effect, or rather this stat, to your bonus. Now, of course, I remove this process completely. So to create a bonus, you literally just go here, add rank, bonus, add stat, health, and that's it. So yes, you will have to redo those things. I'm sorry about that, but I'm sure you're not going to be bothered because you know how much better this way is. And going forward in future updates, I'm going to make sure that either you don't have anything to redo anyway, or if you do, it's as little as possible. So that's it, you're pretty much done. You now have your project fully set up with RPG Builder 1.1. You kept your database, you kept your scenes, your files, everything is great. So I hope you're happy, and if you encountered any problems, any things that I did not cover in this video, if you have any question, if you're not sure about anything, make sure to email me or send me a message. As you know, I'm going to do my best to help you very quickly. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.